The President of Macedonia has said he stands by pardons granted to 56 politicians embroiled in a corruption scandal despite calls to revoke them. Gjorge Ivanov was speaking hours after Parliament was dissolved and early elections called for June 5. The pardons have led to 3 nights of violent protests. Last year, Macedonia's main opposition accused former Prime Minister Nikola Gruevski of wiretapping 20,000 people, including politicians and journalists. Mr. Gruevski is one of the 56 people who have had judicial investigations into their conduct cancelled. Others include former Interior Minister Gordana Jankulovska and former Intelligence Chief Sasho Mijalkov, as well as the leader of the main opposition party SDSM, Zoran Zaev, and former SDSM President Branko Crvenkovski. However, both the SDSM and Mr Ivanov's own VMRO-DPMNE party have said they want the investigations to go ahead. Mr Zaev has been releasing a steady stream of recordings since February 2015. Saying scores of leaked recordings reveal corruption at the highest levels of government, including the mismanagement of funds, dubious criminal prosecutions of opponents and even cover-ups of killings. President unrepentant. Protesters meanwhile have ransacked presidential offices and set fire to furniture. Thursday's protests were mostly peaceful and more were expected on Friday. But Mr Ivanov was unrepentant, telling the nation that anyone who wanted their pardon annulled could ask him. Anyone who thinks that a right has been taken from him or that I have done him a bad favor, or wants to prove his innocence in court, I call on him personally, in a written form, to submit a request to annul the decision regarding him, he said. Macedonia's political crisis began when the SDSM accused Mr Gruevski of wiretapping and corruption. Mr Gruevski then accused the SDSM of spying. Mr Gruevski, who had been Prime Minister since 2006, resigned in January to pave the way for early elections, which were initially scheduled for February before being postponed until June. Mr Zaev has already said the SDSM will boycott the election. The pardons have been condemned internationally, with the US and EU warning that they raised questions about rule of law in Macedonia and could undermine the country's aim of joining the EU.